I want to welcome you to MEC 110, and this will be a class presentation on Project 3, the creation of Project 3. So we'll begin with the spree menu here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our highlight is on, our snap is on, and our grid is on at this particular point. We're also going to check the units to make sure that we're in inch. And another thing we'll do here is we'll switch to the solid mill, and that'll give us toolbars that we'll need for solid mill. Just takes just a moment to switch. And the first thing we'll do is create some geometry. We'll create some unbounded geometry, so I'll select this toolbar here for unbounded geometry. And remember, from my first few presentations, we're going to create some points. So I'll generate my points based on the geometry that I want to create. I'm just going to create this block here. I think this block is a 5x5 block. And I'm going to create some points that represents the hole locations. And then there's a center hole that I'm going to create a point for. And then at this point you can see the geometry on the screen. So I'll use the rectangle command and create my block. And I'll use the hole command or the circle command and generate my circles. Remember, you have to type in the radius for the circles and not the diameter. Now I'm gonna go ahead and create my other construction. Hopefully by this time you've gotten accustomed to creating quite a few circles. And then I'll create the circles in the middle. Represents the counterbore. And I'm also going to create what I call a pilot hole, and we're going to make it a radius of 375. Even though it's not on the actual drawing, I'm going to use it for the creation of that particular hole there. So my next step will be to create some features. So I actually go to create features, and I'll define my hole parameters. I want to generate features on holes that are between 0 and 1 inch diameter. And then I'm going to select all holes with 1 p-top, or connect all holes with 1 p-top, and then I'll click OK. And notice that it picks up 3 features. It picks up the outside counterbores, it picks up my pilot hole, and then it picks up my p-top. I'm going to rename these features here. The way you rename them is you right click on the name itself and then you select rename. I'm going to rename this one. Notice that when I select this one, the counterbore holes are actually selected. So I'm going to rename this one C-bore. And when I select this one here, the palette hole is selected. So I'm going to right click and select rename and put palette hole on this one. And then when I right click on this one here, notice that all holes are selected. So I'm going to just title this one all holes. I use that with my spot drill. And now there are 2 more features that I'm going to create. Because these holes here in this counterbore is so large, I'm going to have to use an end mill and do what we call circular interpolate, or the spree calls it contouring. So the way you actually put a feature on a circle is you just select a circle by double clicking it. I'm going to do one at a time, and then you come up and you select auto chain. Auto chain is the second button on the features toolbar. You notice that it puts a chain there. I'm going to rename this one to inner profile. You can call it anything that's associated with it. And then I'll select the second one, and I'll hit auto chain, and I'll rename this one outer profile. Alright, so my next step here will be to generate some operations and tools. So I'm going to switch to solid mill traditionals. And the first thing I'll do is select my all holes profile, because I'm going to spot drill, and I'll select the drilling operation, which is, looks like about the 5th or 6th button there. I'll select the cutter from the tools library. Just takes a moment to come up. If you notice in your handout, I'm just going to pick a spot drill, SD 1/2 inch. So we'll locate this cutter. We'll take the spot drill 100 thousandths. We just want to put an indentation on it, and we do want to include the tip because we don't want it to break through. And we'll just click OK. And there's my spot drill operation. My next operation is I'm going to drill those 4 counterbore holes. I'm not going to drill all holes because I don't want to drill the pallet hole with the same size drill that I drill the counterbore holes. It's a different cutter. So I'm going to select the drilling operation there, General tab, and this time I'll pick up the closest cutter that's closest to a 470 diameter, and I'll pick up a drill that's a 466. That's the closest one. And I'm going to take it, the total thickness of the material is 1, and I don't want to include the tip because I want to drill all the way through, and then we'll click OK. So now we have the drilling operation there. And now we'll pick the counterbore again. This time we're going to use an end mill and use a drilling cycle. And we'll pick up, it looks like that's a 1 inch diameter end mill there. So we'll pick up an EM of 1 inch. And we'll take it, the depth of it is 320, so we'll take it 320. And we do want to include the tip. Remember, the end mill is a flat bottom cutter, so it's not going to matter anyway. So we'll click OK. So now we've got those counterbore holes drilled. And so now we'll work on the pallet hole. So let's pick up the pallet hole, and we're going to drill it with, let's just say, a 3/4 drill. So we have to go to the tool library and select the 3/4 drill. So we look for DR 750. There it is. And we're going to drill it all the way through. And we don't want to include the tip because we want to break through. And then OK. And so now we've drilled out the material for the pallet hole. So now at this point, we're ready to introduce you to a new operation, which is called contouring. We use contouring when we want to mill a profile. And so in this case here, we're going to mill the inner profile, and we're going to mill the outer profile. So we'll pick inner profile first, and we're going to pick contouring, which is the 4th button. You get just a little different menu here, but the general tab is the same. So the cutter we're going to use is a cutter that's smaller than the pallet cutter, which we drilled at 750. So we're going to use an EM 1/2 inch end mill here. Choose a 1/2 inch end mill, and we'll switch to strategy, and we'll make 1 pass here. What you want to check is to make sure that the stock allowance is 0. We can leave stock for the finished cutter, but we're only going to make 1 pass. We're going to take it all the way through. So I'm going to make it 100 thousandths greater than the actual depth, which is 1 in 100. I'm going to step down 1/2 inch intervals, which means the cutter will step down a 1/2 inch in intervals, and then it'll keep doing that until it reaches 1.1, which that means it'll make 3 passes. And the only other thing I want to look at is the cutter, the offset side for the computer. And so it's actually to the left of the arrow. So if the arrow is going this direction here, it's going to be to the left of the arrow. We want the cutter inside the arrow here. And that's all we want to change, is the general tab and the strategy. So we'll click OK. And we see another path there, a highlight. There it is. We'll do the same thing for the outer profile. We'll select contouring. We'll use the same cutter, so we don't have to change the cutter. The strategy, we're going to change the depth. The contouring looks like it's 380, the depth of it. The incremental depth, we're only going to make 1 pass, so as long as the depth is greater than the total depth, it's only going to make 1 pass, and we'll check the offset side, and we'll click OK. and there's that particular profile there. So at this point we're done with the machining of the part. Now we just need to run some simulation. So I'll select simulation. I'll switch over to isometric. And I'll add some simulation parameters. I'm going to add some stock. Remember, that's going to be a -1. We'll add that stock. I'm going to slow it down just a tad bit, and then we'll select play. And I need to shade it, so we can shade it right there. There's your spot drill. There's your drill. There's your counter bore. There's your pallet hole, and then there's your circle interpolator right there. Notice we're doing 3 passes. And then we come back and we did the counter bore there. So we have a complete part. It's drilled all the way through. The part looks good. So this concludes our presentation. So if you have any questions, please let me know in class.